What? Make a comment, go on.
I'll let you off.
No, go on, make a comment, go on.
Why are you using that as a hairband?
That's literally what I was going to say.
But then, like, cause I fucking hate it when it's like...
Yeah, do it now. It looks worse now.
No, you look like you got a bit of a side fringe going on.
That's what I mean.
Like
do it again.
like as a
I always use that. I've always done it like
2010s.
I think it's the lesser of two evils to just do it like a hairband.
Okay, look.
That's
man.
That's alright.
That's what I fucking told you, bro.
Yeah.
Nah,
Just do that. Yeah. It's
too
not the
much-
best.
it's
It's not
too
the best bit I'll have to do.
it's too much gleam coming from the forehead like that.
It's alright.
You're blinding me.
What's happening, everyone? Welcome to this episode of Everything 9000. What's happening, boys?
I'm alright.
All good.
Yeah. Today we're going to be talking about. To be honest, this happened a few months ago. Well, April. This happened in April. It was a letter sent by some Scottish GPs and a consultant. It was an open letter sent via the Times to Caroline Lamb, to Chief Executive of NHS Scotland, asking for meat to be banned from hospital menus, in a bid to improve patient health. That's what I want to talk about today. I'll give you, just a couple of little excerpts from that letter, just to give you, the sort of vibe of what was going on. And then it's just going to be a meat versus veg bash off, and I can't wait for it. But anyway,
That sounds fucking wrong when you say meat bash off.
Look here. I know you're a meat basher, but let's leave that out here. Anyway, the letter...
Just a basher full stop.
The letter was signed by 4 doctors and an NHS consultant. They claim that serving red and processed meat to the hospital patients was like distributing cigarettes in the pulmonary-care unit. Do you know what pulmonary is, right?
I think so.
You don't know shit. It's to do with your heart. Okay. So the letter also called on NHS Scotland to replace meat, eggs and dairy products in the hospitals with vibrant vegan foods to protect the health of Scottish people, and they touched on points about how it's better for the planet with less emissions, and we'll get into some of those points. But yeah, what's your initial thoughts? Okay,
so shall I go first?
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so I would back that 100,000,000%. What about you, Jagger? Like, that's in short, and then we'll get into why we think that. Okay, yeah, would you back that?
I'll be honest. Like from the off, I've got no problem with vegan food, or like me personally, I'm not vegetarian or vegan.
Yeah,
I'll have a range of foods, have a balanced diet. But this is an NHS Scotland. It's a governmental body.
Yeah,
right? And if they are just providing vegan food, that's what they're saying here, right?
Yeah.
I'm a little bit against that because of the choice element about it.
You think it's restricted?
Just because of the choice.
Okay, the whole choice element. Okay, look, there's one way of looking at it from that aspect, saying, okay, why are you forcing meat eaters to eat veggie food or like vegan food? I get that, right? But in the similar vein, do you see hospitals distributing cigarettes to like smokers?
No, but that's what I mean. I think that analogy
no,
isn't the same at all.
How is it not? How is it not? So look,
because hold on, like in terms of distributing cigarettes, right?
Yeah.
Eating dairy isn't the same as smoking a cigarette.
But then,
nowhere near.
No, look, there is scientific evidence which
suggests it's the same.
No, which says that vegan food, like actually red meat and all that. Okay, look, I get your point. There's protein in red meat and all that stuff, right? I get that. But if there's evidence saying actually, you know what, if there are certain conditions that you have, look, there are a lot of illnesses and stuff that's related to obesity. But 100%. Then also like how you eat certain foods, right? Okay.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong with like veggie or vegan food.
Obesity isn't the only issue. There's issues such as anorexia, and this was the point a lot of doctors made, that it's often very hard to get patients to eat food at all. And then if you're further restricting that choice by just providing vegan food.
No, I don't think. I think what it is like you just mentioned now. It all depends on what certain health problems an individual might have, and when you start just completely locking off a food group without even looking into a particular individual's health history, health condition, and that just really sort of, even the remedies for that could be available for them, that sort of restricts that as well. So I think that it's not a black and white debate in terms of dairy and meat are bad.
One thing,
and veganism is the way forward. Like obviously, I have no problem with veggies, having vegetables and eating all that stuff. Like I have a lot of that, but I'm saying eating dairy and meat, certain types, and having a balanced diet is actually not bad for you. If you're there having a Big Mac every day, then that's completely out off the scale. That's different.
Look, I think
there's the argument that vegans and vegetarians, they're not getting the vitamin B12, which obviously
you can still get that with supplements. So it's not like
but we're talking foods here, right?
Exactly. Not everybody. I know a lot of people who like put off by supplements and tablets.
Exactly. Supplements and tablets. It's not like I'm like that. I don't like taking a tablet.
Yeah, I don't either. To be fair, but like, this whole thing boils down to, I think there are two aspects you have to consider with this. Okay, and you have to kind of look. I get what your point about saying, why are you forcing meat eaters to eat vegan or veggie food? Right, okay, and I think a lot of these arguments, even if you look at like vaccines and stuff, like the whole argument about like choice, I think is getting a bit too much. But okay, look, it comes down to two things you got to weigh against.
I just think in this country, right? Obviously, it's a liberal country, right? Everyone has the right to do something or not do something, and being forced to eat something or take something. But then I think is not what the majority of people would agree with in this country.
I think you talked about like individual medical histories and like individual like concern of like like looking at the history of like an individual person's medical history. And so like, so if you can
find a lot of likes.
I was
individual
share, subscribe.
No, so what I was trying to say, the point I'm trying to make is, look, if you can see that certain meats or certain foods are damaging somebody's medical health, then would you agree taking away that food? Like food
100%,
okay,
but I'm not saying that I 100% agree. That's my whole argument that I was saying, but that's based on science, based on their history, rather than being like meat is bad.
Well, let me give you some of the facts, right?
I was going to pull out some statistics.
A fact here is the world's biggest killer is ischemic heart disease. I think that's how you say it. Ischemic must be a Latin term. Doctors love that. And that was responsible for 16% of the world's total deaths last year. Since 2000, the largest increase in deaths has been for this disease. Rising by more than 2 million to 8.9 million deaths in 2019.
So is that
related to
heart
meat?
Disease?
And that's to do with buildup of cholesterol, or is it just fat? Because I don't.
Well, the thing is, the doctors are alleging that eating meat makes you increases the propensity of getting heart disease.
Okay, I think that is mainly to do with fast food generally. I would suggest, from the figures, obviously fast food has really sort of exploded over the past 4 or 5 decades or whatever.
Yeah, it has.
And that's I think that generally people that are active and have a balanced diet, they're not going to be going down that route and having heart disease. But if you're somebody who goes to work, comes back, does no exercise, and then
there's been a few. But you say that
you're going to have that.
There have been a lot of articles in recent years, though I'd say it's going back up to 5 years now, where it's saying red meat in particular. It has carcinogens, and it's not good for your body.
Okay, look,
I'd agree with that, because it's not. I think it is something that you're supposed to cut down on in terms of it's not the. If we're looking at red meat here, I think we're talking about pork, bacon, that sort of thing.
Beef.
So
that's right.
So they're quite high in fats and saturated fats. They're not the leanest cut of meat you can get. So obviously that's something that's going to cause those problems. So maybe cutting down on them
but that's one of the most popular like meats that people have in this country. Like if you look at it, like even American stuff like pork and stuff is one of like
maybe if you're having a full English and stuff but
like even generally like when you go to restaurants and stuff, like what you find like red meats on the menus most. Don't you think?
And obviously, a lot of us have seen the Game Changers documentary. We watched that
a few years back.
Okay, look, I think
and we saw that, and then we thought, okay, look, we've directly seen some activities and tests being taken here, and we're seeing how the meat eater fared and how the vegetarian.
I remember seeing that and genuinely thinking that okay, maybe there is a problem with having meat and stuff, but I think you also need to understand that the people who did that study and created that program, they all had a bit of a vested interest in vegan food and vegan diet stuff.
When you come. We're talking about not the whole country going vegan. What we're trying to say is like, should the NHS have like a vegan menu and not like?
So what we're saying is, Jugda, tomorrow. Touch wood. Yeah. I know what's you make a trip to Scotland. You need to make a quick trip to the hospital, and they're like, "Do you know what? We got a plant-based meat burger for you here."
I wouldn't cry about it. Like, obviously, it's like in the hospital. You know what I mean? You gotta take what you're given. But in terms of like, I just think It's more about the whole like if they take a stand and say, right, we're advocating that vegan food is the only food you should be eating, then I think that has a bit of a wide ranging implication towards the rest of the sort of market as well in terms of food, because other things that I've read is that obviously the NHS as a whole is a massive institution, right? And in Scotland, if say for instance the farmers that are farming the meat in Scotland or wherever
it puts them to a loss.
It puts them to a loss, and it's like a big one-off client as well for them. And then it's gonna maybe start the ball rolling, and without any sort of literature behind it or any sort of scientific evidence, it's hard to sort of...
I think it's
a lot of people have said about the farmer's point. You know, they said farm incomes are already stretched, you know, with the spiralling cost of living, you know, the crisis, fuel, fertilizer prices rising, and just generally inflation.
But look, you know, I'm glad that you brought these up, because there is wider implication. Look, if you look about it, when you talk about veganism and whether you should go like become vegan, there are two main aspects that kind of stem from it. One is economical, the other one is like environmental, right? If you look about it now, so look, literally I was reading one of these articles and they said like if everybody went vegan, right, for example, if everybody in this country went vegan now, it would save the NHS £30 billion a year. That's a huge...
The letter said that,
right?
The letter also said that.
Yeah, 30 billion, right? So there was a study that was done in like Taiwan, right? And it said that so
can you read your own handwriting?
No, I can. So basically, I was looking at a few of the figures. So at the moment, in 2019, the UK spent £225 billion on that was health expenditure, and if that's that works out about £3,371 per person. But if all of us went vegan or veggie, that would be reduced by at least £30 billion.
I didn't get that stat.
But where is
I actually fell asleep when he was saying
no.
What where is the savings? Where are the savings coming from?
Because it comes from a lot of so when you're eating meat and stuff, right? You have all these illnesses and stuff. What they're saying is that meat-related illnesses can be alleviated.
Meat-related illnesses being, obesity,
one,
diabetes, atherosclerosis.
So
I just think like that.
You coming down to the point of exercising and having a balanced diet.
I just feel like genuinely, vegetables are very key to have in your diet. 100% agree with that. But what I'm saying is in terms of all the sort of arguments for this, it's just obesity and diabetes are one of them. Heart disease is what you've mentioned.
Yep.
Those can all be alleviated if people just got off their ass and actually did some exercise.
But then that's easy for us to say because we're active, right?
And I'm saying that some bits in there are obviously genetics. Can affect that, which obviously fair enough. If you've got a genetic problem, then it's harder for you. So I do sympathize with that. But I'm just saying the vast majority of cases here of people, it's just overindulgence. It's people loving the taste of maybe fast food here and not then paying the price for it.
Okay, look, I agree. Okay, look, in terms of so that's one. Look, there's research that's shown if everybody went vegan and if you had vegan food in certain these biggest institutions, it would in the long term save money for the country, right? And the other aspect of it, as I said, is the environmental aspect of it, right? So do you know all around the world, majority of the agriculture is not used to use actually for grain.
Do you know what I was reading?
Veg and fruit, but it's actually a lot of it is to use to feed the cows. It's used to feed the animals, right?
Yeah, no. Definitely.
And so I was watching this one documentary I think it's called Legacy. It's on Netflix, I think. No, it might be on Amazon. But what it basically showed is that it takes about, say, if you have 10 fields, right? Yeah. Okay, it takes at least 8 of those fields to feed like a handful of animals. Right, yeah. And if you could use all those exact fields to feed 50 people.
Yeah.
Right? I definitely agree. There's environmental pros by eating vegan and vegetarian food. But definitely. What's that got to do with the patient's health?
What do you mean? What's
that got to do with the patient's health?
Well, it's another thing is if you're greenhouse gases, you'll have more a lot of the times agriculture is expanding and expanding and expanding. Right, you're taking away trees, you're taking away natural forests and so on for agriculture, right? And again,
the point Aman's making is to do with the actual patient's health.
Yeah.
So this all stems
not
from
to do with
doctors
at the moment.
Yeah.
Writing to say the NHS Scotland.
We can see.
So you're saying it doesn't really environmental.
No, I'm saying there's environmental points.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're talking about patients' lives and health.
Yeah.
And
I think we're also forgetting that dairy is also part of this argument, not just meat.
Yeah. So for me,
cutting out dairy.
Yeah.
Imagine cutting out dairy. Just
I think with especially
you're
like
drinking a cup of tea right there.
Yeah.
And you know what? I've been, not recently, but 2-3 years ago, I went to the hospital a few times. Had to go there. Not myself, but for family members.
Yeah.
And jacket potatoes with beans on cheese is like a staple at hospitals.
Yeah.
In Sandwell.
Yeah.
That's a staple. So then you're taking the cheese off.
I know. You know what? For me, like, I'm not completely vegan. Like, I know it's not good enough to say I'm not completely vegan. I have I'd probably say about.
You love paneer.
I know I do. For me, like, I think
you love cheese.
Yeah.
You have a pizza a week.
Yeah, I know. For me, like, and with milk, the only time I drink like cow milk is when my mum makes tea at home. Literally, that's the only time I drink cow milk. But other than the only
cow's milk is a staple for millions of people.
Yeah, especially like Indian families and stuff. Dairy is like part of like staple meal. But for me, the only thing I can't seem to get rid of is like cheese and stuff. Right. But other than that, I'm mostly vegan. I would say, like, the foods that I have and stuff. I've minimized my use of cow milk to, I would say, about like by 80% at least.
Yeah, I've stopped having like cow's milk as much as well, but that's mainly just because of like how it is for your macros, like in terms of just calories and stuff. But
I don't know. I see good points. I see. Look, I get your point about the whole choice thing and like why you're forcing other people and you've got to have it individualized, right?
If it's if it's actually backed by scientific evidence to do
by a body, this is 4 doctors.
Yeah.
So these 4 doctors could very much be on the vegan wave, which is growing in this country. But
by the way, I think like 8% of British people are now vegan. 8%. That 8. That's quite a large chunk of the population.
Yes. Well, it's growing.
It's growing. It's a growing wave.
Yeah.
But okay, I thought it would be an interesting point to discuss. It was a letter. It came out in April. We've been meaning to do this pod for a while. It's interesting. It's interesting considering both sides.
But look, how long do you think we can sustain the current like status quo? Like, eventually, do you not think a lot more people will be forced to go vegan and stuff? If you look at the greenhouses effect and all that, the costs of it all as well.
Yeah, right? I do.
Do you think this is the way we have at the moment? Do you think this is sustainable?
I do genuinely think that in terms of it is good to cut down a bit as much as you can on your meat consumption.
So like, okay, look,
but it's just, I think, as with everything, it's just having it in moderation. Having everything in moderation is probably half decent for a balanced diet.
Okay, so what do you reckon moderation is? Like, how much? So like, not to go personal here, okay, yeah, but like, how much do you think you eat too much meat? Do you think you could cut down on it? Or
definitely.
Where would you cut down?
For me, in the future, I 100% want to become vegetarian.
Yeah.
At one point, so that is a personal goal of mine. Yeah, at one point in my life, I do want to get.
No
to that stage.
way.
But
your password is chicken123.
but the thing is, the only reason, obviously, I do incorporate meat in my diet mainly is just because it's really efficient to get protein in.
Yeah.
Compared to like all the rest of the other foods, which there are loads of vegetarian and vegan bodybuilders out there, 100%, and like they know their stuff.
But wasn't the whole point on that Game Changers documentary that meat isn't the most efficient way to get protein?
In terms of the macro point of view, the macros don't quite lie on that. In terms of like turkey and chicken are actually like just almost depends on what cut you get, but they are one of the most just pure protein.
Okay, so you're talking about protein here. Okay, there's one stat I pulled out, right? Okay, yeah, about this as well. So it was talking about meat and dairy production, like, is responsible 60% of the agriculture greenhouses gases.
Look, man, we're not denying that, man.
No. But
we know
Okay, but then listen. Following this.
This is what he did in exams.
Okay,
I'll revise it. I'm not gonna answer your question. I'm gonna give you what I've learned.
No. Okay, but like, okay, while it's responsible for 60% of the greenhouse gases, okay, yeah, but it only provides 18% of the calories we need and 37% of the protein.
So what was that?
So you're talking about protein, like meat being the most like efficient provider of protein, right?
Yeah.
But when you look at it in the whole like picture, right, in terms of like in if you compare it, the amount of like greenhouse gases it releases.
What the fuck is this
right?
point, man?
But
this is the I said he's waffling more.
No, I'm not waffling. I'm not waffling.
He's still waffling.
Look, I'm not. I'm telling you. Look, you talked about protein.
That meme in there. Where's the correlation?
No. You talked about
greenhouse gases here. Protein consumption.
But like for all the greenhouse gases it releases, right? The production of meat, it only provides 37% of the protein compared to every other foods. So it takes up majority. So look, what I'm trying to say. Look, there's okay. when you look at it in the grander scheme of things, okay, yeah. So meat and dairy production, right, is responsible of 60% of the greenhouse gases released from agriculture, right?
Right.
But within that, right, okay, when you look at it, it only provides 18% of the calories that we actually intake and only 37% of the protein that people have.
That means nothing to me.
So what you're trying to say, you talked about meat being very efficient for protein, but actually...
It's one of the most efficient.
No, it is, but research has shown, but it's not, because it only provides like 37% of the protein that
you know what?
Are you trying to take
that stat?
Are you trying to take into... I think what you're trying to do, are you trying to take into account like the land used for farming and growing
the land use, but like look, what I'm trying to say is like you're saying it's a great source of protein, but I'm saying in the grand
I'm just saying from in terms of what, like, forget the whole
in the grand scheme of things.
If you put the greenhouse stuff to the side for 1 second,
we can't though. Like
no, you can because we're talking about nutrition in terms of what goes into you.
Okay, so
if you get a pack here of like tofu or whatever, if you load that up on the screen or whatever, and you get the calories for that, and then you put there like a turkey breast or something, like the turkey breast will have more protein in for less calories.
So you're saying for you, it's easier to go to Sainsbury's, pick up, some cuts of chicken breast, and for you, that sustains your protein full.
Yeah, like that's it. No, rather than having like so many scoops of whey, or like just having like, if you have if you have like the other alternatives which are fine and I have no problem with, like there are people making crazy gains doing that. I'm just saying what works for me. So like in terms of like that, there'll be like a bit more carbs in it, a bit more fat.
So I think you're talking about your specific diet. I think what he's saying is what it takes to actually get it to Sainsbury's.
So like, so look, you agree that this is better for you, but then do you think personally for yourself that's sustainable going forward?
What, in terms of the entire planet and
no, even in general.
Why is that not sustainable? He'll go to Sainsbury's every week.
No, but then it's all right for you to go to Sainsbury's every week, right? But do you think it's actually sustainable in the long run when you look at it? Because when you look at the grandest,
but the thing is, this is the thing: the average person isn't thinking about the planet when they're going to Sainsbury's.
Exactly, but
the average person's probably going just to get what they think tastes good.
Yeah, but
they're probably not even thinking about it.
That's what I mean. Like, it's all right for us to do it.
You're not thinking about the planet. You drove to the train station in your car.
No. Look, come on, you can't be like finger pointing like this. Okay, the point I'm trying to make is you're saying, look, you get more protein from meat, okay, set aside everything else. But you can't. The protein stuff, it comes together with everything. It has to. Like,
so I think he was just attacking that efficiency point.
Yeah.
It might be efficient for you to walk to Sainsbury's to get it, but it's not the most efficient way for society to source.
Okay, cool.
So I do. So I think you can.
Basically, that stat you pulled out was bollocks.
It wasn't.
Maybe you didn't explain it all.
No. But look, I don't know if you can read my handwriting properly. It literally says meat and dairy production is responsible for 60% of agriculture's greenhouse gases, while they only provide 18% of calories and 37% of protein.
Okay, so you're saying that in terms of the efficiency of like, let's say a patch of land is grown, right? And how much percent was the
like, so figure? Literally you would only get 18% of your calories from that huge patch of land and 37% of your protein, whereas if you actually had all the plant-based,
you have more calories from that, because you can like plant something like beans, let's say.
Exactly. But then so like if you have the alternatives there, and if you can feed yourself, and if you can like have protein from other sources, then I don't think so, like, why not? And if NHS is leading the way for that, then I don't see why not. Let NHS lead the way. Because a lot of the times, when I don't know if you've noticed, but when people get hospitalized, right, okay, they eat certain foods, they learn a lot about nutrition, right? And they try to adopt and like kind of adapt these into their normal diet afterwards as well. That's happened to my mum before. My mum was hospitalized, and the foods that she ate in the hospital, she like all of a sudden gained like this whole new knowledge about food, and she tried to adapt that then into a normal diet as well. So I think if the hospital
should be at the forefront.
The hospital should be at the forefront, because that's where you're fighting the disease. And if the NHS is saying, look, eat vegan food, and they're giving you vegan food, and for example, you might have gone into the hospital, right, like having illnesses and stuff, and you've turned up there, and you've tried the like vegan food for the first ever time, and you think, actually, it's not too bad.
Well, maybe on the back of this letter, then NHS Scotland should actually set aside some funds and actually conduct research.
Maybe do a trial or something. I genuinely think that it should be done on a patient by patient basis. And obviously, like the NHS, it's going to be difficult to do that on the NHS because it's a public.
They're already busy, man.
Yeah, they're not going to have a specific diet.
No, but I think it is a way forward, because if you think about it, if you're going to try and like, would you guys agree that going forward, so like,
would you rather serve vegan food knowing that that's better for the patient, but you've got a patient who would rather starve?
No, that's...
Then what?
I don't know if there's anyone. I don't know if anyone would really
nobody's
do
gonna
that,
say like, okay, look, nobody's gonna say
like a die-hard meat
Or they'll tell
fanatic.
their family members to bring in a cheeseburger or something.
No,
like
but
that.
that's different. Like what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, look,
They would rather literally. No,
okay.
there are people out there that literally rise their nose to vegan veg food. They don't.
I just think they're doing that because they think it's like a part of this whole woke stuff, and
Yeah,
I think
a lot of it comes down to like, you know, like a lot of people,
honestly, we come across some very reasonable people in our lives, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of different types of people out there. There's some people that will be very staunch on the fact that they do not want vegan food, right? But you're saying the NHS Scotland is trying to shove that down my throat. They don't care what NHS Scotland is thinking.
That's mainly probably to do with the choice.
Your mum wanted nutrition info. There's a lot of people out there, they don't give a shit.
Yeah, but I think if
So answer my question in that scenario.
Yeah.
So is that a good scenario to have then?
No, not really, because I still think that's taking a bit to the extreme. You're not gonna go to a hospital, you're on a bed and they're giving you food and you're gonna turn that away. Like that's gonna be like 0.01%, and they'll be like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna get my family to bring me food. Fair play, okay, whatever. But majority of the people that be hospitalized and they're given vegan food, they'll take that. Majority, you can't disagree with that. Majority of people will take it.
Yeah, majority of people in hospital, like
exactly,
if they are there,
and if they're being told, look,
given.
you have these obesity issues, you have these illnesses related to meat and obesity, right? Okay, and this is the food that you should be eating, and this is what you should be having. People will have it. Majority of the people will be reasonable about it. And I think if you can lead that charge with the NHS, that's the way to go forward. Because would you guys agree that the way forward is to actually cut down meat as much as you can and go vegan or perhaps even veggie? Would you agree with that statement?
But the thing, it's not vegetarian, is it? I think if what was proposed was vegetarianism,
we're forgetting about
it might have been a bit more reasonable, but it's vegan.
Okay, look, then
so in terms of dairy, which like
I think dairy, like again, it's for dairy's kind of like I think harder to come over than meat itself.
Imagine, right? We're Punjabis, right? Yeah. Imagine giving a Punjabi patient, telling them you can't have any milk, any butter, any cheese, any.
But that's why we have
probably put them into like a coma that self.
No, but then like a lot of Indian,
it's a staple.
No, but look, it's a staple. But if you look at within the Indian communities, why do we have the most high rates of cholesterol, like diabetes?
I agree with that. I agree. No, I know that. Well,
maybe
right?
it's
I'm not
maybe. To be fair, like listen, I actually get the point that you're coming up here. Maybe it is time to sort of change that narrative.
I get that, right? All I'm saying is someone who's already going through a hardship by being hospitalized don't want to go through a further hardship by being denied the milk.
No, but look, I'm telling you, my mum, look, when you go to, there's a whole difference in, like, I don't know if you
know what, patients need comfort at that point, man.
No, they need comfort, but they also, like, you can't keep, look.
A glass of milk ain't gonna kill you.
No, look, you're talking about comfort, okay, let's imagine, like, and I'm gonna use a smoking metaphor again, yeah? Imagine like a heavy smoker. Why do people smoke? Because it gives them comfort. It's something that they crave and they have it.
No, I get that, but right? I honestly,
using your analogy, right? You're saying
you're comparing milk.
Genuinely, I don't think that's a suitable analogy here.
It is because if
you literally, genuinely, yeah, like traditional Punjabi Pahlwans, wrestlers, whatever, they have grown up on like milk,
butter. They used to drink purified
almond, and that is like the total opposite of cigarettes, trust me. So I don't think that's a very appropriate.
No, it's not appropriate. But look, those people historically, if you look at within the Indian community, okay, historically we've always had like high cholesterol. We've always had these issues related with them, right? Yeah. Do you not think when my mum was hospitalized, okay, yeah, she was all of that for her. But then the moment she was hospitalized, came out of it, she realized actually not all of that is that great. So like she's reduced her milk intake by a lot.
But this comes back down to my point that I made earlier. Like everything in moderation
is fine.
But so look, there's one thing. Okay, we've talked about the environmental impact of it. We've talked about economical impact of veganism and stuff. The whole argument. The third thing, I don't want to bring it up because obviously, Jagga, you eat meat, right? Yeah. But then, have you also thought about like another benefit of this is like the compassionate side, the ethics side of meat, of eating meat?
No, 100%. Like, listen, I know that
because we eat meat.
I'm not proud of the fact that I eat meat. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not like it's not something that I want to come here and push like, oh, everyone should be eating meat. Like, do you know what I mean? I think like if you can cut down on it from our own religious point of view, like go for it if that's something that you are content with. But it's like I was just speaking earlier about
purely the
nutrition side, and just in terms of the actual in terms of how it relates to the average Joe in this country, because you know from obviously the recent stuff that's going on, whether it be Brexit, whether whatever's happened in the last 5 years, like the whole political landscape has changed, and everyone is very much, we want our own choice, we want our freedom. It's almost like something which has been ingrained into every person here. So
and that's
once they get, it was with the vaccine stuff last year, nobody likes being pressured or pushed to do anything here. It's like the whole point is to have a choice. If they want to have something, if they don't, it's the same with the whole drinking and cigarettes thing. I think with a lot of people, like the government can only go so far and try to discourage people, but at the end of the day, if somebody wants to have a drink or have a cigarette, someone can't actually physically go out there and stop them.
Okay, so like
no, I think you nailed the point there, right? I think, should NHS Scotland look at this letter that was presented to them and then want to take this forward, conduct trials, etc. They should look at a choice first. And they should give a fact sheet with it. Like, look, if you go for this meal, you'll get this nutrition. It's much more better for your heart. You know, maybe there's a tick box. Is this client? Is this patient? That's my lawyer. That's my legal stuff. Has this patient a history of heart disease? Does this patient have a history of obesity, etc., etc.?
But I think nutrition obviously is a big part in stopping all these sort of diseases. But that's also in tandem with the physical exercise part of it, and also the mental part of it. I think a lot of people are forgetting that. Obviously, diet is the most important, but the physical aspect of being active, getting your steps in, doing all that stuff, that is what's going to help you as well. It's not like you can't, if you were just to go vegan, right, and you end up having a vegan burger from McDonald's every day and and doing nothing else, like that, you can go there and that's not really going to help
you. End up with the same.
There's a big misconception that vegan food's actually healthy, but vegan food can be very unhealthy. Like you've said, you can still get vegan food from Burger King and stuff, but that's still 1,000 calories. Right. So there is
and regardless, the options and what's available on the market is still a lot less.
Like for example, chips and stuff, that's still vegan, right? People would eat chips and all that, right? That's unhealthy. So I get your point about that. But in the grand scheme of things, I think the way we have society at the moment, at the rate that we're consuming meat, I don't think is sustainable. And I think if there's...
But you're saying that from a production point of view?
Production point of view, environmental point of view, economical point of view, ethical point of view, every single point. I think if you look at it, the way we consume meat, we literally raise animals to slaughter them, right? And I'm sorry again for saying this, and I know a lot of people eat meat and stuff. They don't want to be reminded of this stuff, right? Okay, yeah. And I don't want to be seeing as I'm sitting on my moral high horse here, okay, yeah. But when you look at it, the grand scheme of things, what we have at the moment is not sustainable, and there needs to be a push, there needs to be a drive to kind of take people away from the meat aspect and more towards vegan and vegetarianism. And I think if NHS is going to lead that fight, then I think it should be done.
But I think that should be done in an educational point in terms of setting, like what Aman said earlier, setting out the nutritional benefits of it and letting people make their own choice as opposed to shoving it down their throat.
I think that's the key bit. Let's not shove it down people's throats. I think.
But the one thing I hate about...
Yo, I'm trying to close this out, man. Stop making more points. Yeah. I think you both made some great points. We know where you stand, Amrit. I think, Jugga, you made some great points too. NHS Scotland, let's see what they do. Let's see if this is taken anywhere. Let's see if anything comes from it. If not, you can always write another letter, Amrit. I know you're not a doctor, but
he was the one who wrote the original letter.
He was the consultant. But all right, catch us for the next episode, guys.